Welcome to the Hot Lava Podcast presented by the Union-Tribune. Kevin Acee, Padres beat writer for the Union-Tribune, and my boss, Jay Posner. I like to remind him of that all the time. He's my boss. Or is it the other way around,
I think I remind you of that quite often, Kevin.
All right, Jay, when last we were with the folks on the Hot Lava Podcast, we were thinking, all right, well, once a week. And, I think that people responded favorably to it. Plus, it occurred to us there are 162 games. They play one of these every day, except on Sunday, evidently. And so let's go to twice a week. Mondays, maybe Fridays. My travel schedule, we'll see. But that seems like a really good idea.
I would agree. I think sometimes maybe if a series starts on a Thursday, we'll try to get on at the start of of the series. But this seems like a pretty good schedule. We'll see how the people respond. As you mentioned, we're very happy with the early response, got a lot of good feedback, and a lot of pressure to keep going. So
keep the good feedback coming.
That's right.
Well,
that's
and the
right.
bad too, to Jay.Posner at stuniontribune.com. Jay, first series, Milwaukee Brewers. The Padres were swept. I don't mean to be sarcastic. It's the second time in 3 years. This was an improvement over 25-0 3 years ago against the Dodgers.
Always looking at the bright side. That's very much.
That's who I am. Jay, first game, 12 innings. They couldn't get the bats going. Second game, they're in it. As a matter of fact, they were leading. They were leading by 3 runs going into the ninth inning. You got your closer on the mound. You can argue he went 2 innings the day before, but just 19 pitches, Brad Hand. You could argue maybe he shouldn't have pitched to Ryan Braun, but you don't pitch to Ryan Braun. You put the winning run on second base. Boom. Brad Hand has his worst outing as a Padre, 5 runs, 3-run homer by Ryan Braun. Third game, I would argue with you that even though the bats went cold for 6 innings after they battled back twice early, that was just one of those games where Luis Perdomo just took the air out of the offense. So 2 games they were close. 1 game they had no shot. The Padres are 0-3.
I think it's one of those situations, and we go through this, unfortunately, almost every year now, where the Padres are as an organization.
Soccer fan. Okay.
Where the Padres are in this market, people are conditioned to expect the worst. They're just going to expect that the Padres are going to be lousy. Now, unfortunately for the Padres, the last 7 years, they have been lousy. But I think what would help one of these years, and this happened in 2010, going way back, and then it kind of kept going, was if they could get off to a decent start, I think people would have reason to get excited a little bit. But instead, like you mentioned, 25-0 a couple of years ago, this year they get swept by the Brewers. Yeah, they were in the opening day game. They had a great chance to win it. And Hosmer hit into a double play. Chase Headley hit into a double play. Hunter Renfroe struck out. They got a couple of ground ball hits that went through. By the way, Adam Simber and Rafi Lopez, thanks for paying us back for giving them the big ups on the opening podcast. But anyway, they go to the next night. The next night's the killer game because if you're 1-2, at least people can't say, oh, look, the Padres are winless a game. Losing 2 out of 3 to the Brewers, I don't think is a big disgrace or anything like that. But Brad Hand on the mound, 3-run lead. Yeah, he pitched the day before, but as we said, 19 pitches. And the bottom line is he was 1 pitch away from ending the game. Even after everything that happened with his fielding error and everything else, he was 1 pitch away. The pitch to Ryan Braun is supposed to be at his eyes. It's not supposed to be at his letters. And Ryan Braun did what good hitters do with pitches like that, and they hit them 10 miles, and the Padres get a really bad loss at a really bad time. If this happens in June, well, who knows what it means. But most of the time, you just, look, they lost 3 games in a row. Okay, it happens.
It's another day.
It's another day. But now with this schedule coming up, which we were going to talk about, they've got the Rockies for 4 games now here?
4 games here.
And then they go to Houston for 3. Then they go to Coors for 3. I think the Padres are going to be underdogs for their first 13 games, at least on the betting line, until the Giants come in here. And even then, there's no guarantee they're going to be favored depending on the pitching. But that's kind of a tough situation. Obviously, they can't go – you would hope they wouldn't go 0-13. That wouldn't be good for anyone. They're going to have to win some of these games that they're in. And obviously, Saturday or Friday – I keep calling it Saturday because it was the second game of the series. Yes. But it was Friday night's game was a really bad loss.
It was. And I love your point about it being so early in the season. So there's 3 games for us to do this, and it's just a ridiculously minuscule sample size, but that's what we do. And you say the first 13 games, and it's interesting. Then Giants are here, then the Dodgers, then it's Arizona, back to Coors Field. I mean,
right.
it is brutal, going to be brutal on the pitching, and who knows the hitting. I saw.
But hey, if they want to be, they've said, look, we're going to be better this year. Okay, well, they're going to have to be better quick. Because they're not going to be able to just kind of, find their way, so to speak, or else we're going to be going through another one of these. I can't remember the numbers. What were they, 15 and 30 last year or something before they finally started playing better?
That sounds very familiar, but that also might have been the year before or 2 years ago.
Couple years,
right?
Yeah, 3. Whenever it was that Buddy got fired, they really weren't that bad at that time.
It's just that everyone expected them to be.
And that I still don't think that was the right time to do that, but that's another time we can talk about that.
So taking one thing that we're going to do is we do the more frequent podcast, take it a little shorter, because let's face it, today we could go another half hour, because why not dissect 3 games at the start of the season? Some days maybe there won't be as much to talk about, but here on the Hot Lava Podcast presented by the Union-Tribune, Kevin Acee, this is Jay Posner, my boss, as he already mentioned a few times. Let's go bigger picture. Are you tired of the Luis Perdomo experiment?
No, I don't think
answer.
I'm tired of it yet. Perdomo's a really interesting guy to me because, as a Rule 5 guy, he more than held his own. Probably should have been in the minors last year, but he pitched okay.
But that was a season last year that truly was about, it was totally okay to have him here all year.
Correct.
To find out who he was.
Right.
So where are we now?
And I think now, one start in, he's not in a good spot. It sounds like after the game that Andy Green is kind of getting close to the end of the rope with Perdomo, but he's one of those guys that looks like to my totally untrained eye, he looks like he has really good stuff. He has really good movement on his fastball. The problem is most of the time, even he doesn't know where it's going. And that's what the spring was about. Right. And he looked like he was about to, I remember you wrote a story. It looked like he was about to be on the ropes in terms of losing his spot in the rotation. And then he had a good outing or two and it was like, okay, well, he deserves a chance to be in the rotation. This is still a season to find out about, guys. I certainly get the idea. He's not going to get the whole season to show what he is anymore. It sounds like he might not even get the month.
He may get Dinelson Lamet's rehab. Let's say that Lamet is back in early May and Perdomo's had 3 rough outings.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know, because you know what? There's so many moving parts. Is Tyson Ross truly healthy? What does Joey Lucchesi look like? How's Eric Lauer doing down in the minors?
Robbie Erlin pitched well for 3 innings the other night coming off of Tommy John. That was great to see a guy come back like that. But again, about Perdomo, that's a situation where it just seems like he's not going to get a lot of time, and his next start, which unfortunately for him, I think is still going to be at Coors. And if it's not, it's going to be against the defending World Series champions. But he's going to have to pitch better quickly.
Yeah, there's, like you said, and look, all these guys are talented. They're in the big leagues. But there are innings where you go, or stretches of games even on a Friday night. What was it?
No, Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Again, gosh, let's get back on a real schedule here. I'm bad enough. Even then, there's stretches you go, that's let's say upper half of starters in the major leagues that make those pitches. And then boom, Luis Perdomo, I don't know. Is he like me? Did he lose focus? I don't understand. All right, let's go to the kid, Joey Lucchesi. I saw a tweet from you. One way to put it was loud contact. I put it in my stories on Friday night. He was finding the barrels of bats. And that's not something we'd seen in the spring. That's certainly not something that Joey Lucchesi saw in the minors.
But we didn't see it the whole game.
No,
we saw it
that's
early.
the thing.
Yeah.
And that's without his best stuff.
Right. And Margot, who should have made a catch in the first inning, did make a nice catch later on. Lucchesi's going to want to use the ballpark here. I mean, it's not as big as it used to be, but especially at night games, it can still play fairly big. And, look, it's one outing. Yeah, he looks like he could be something, but we can't read anything into that. But I was impressed with the way, and this was a little bit of what Ohtani did yesterday. I watched a lot of the Angels game. He was a guy, Ohtani got drilled in the second inning, single home run. It's like, whoa. The A's didn't get any other hits. And I thought Lucchesi I think he gave up 5 hits in the first 2 innings, and then maybe 1 after that. Yeah. So I think he pitched. I think he pitched fine. He certainly, the Coors experience for him. I guess he's going to get Coors, and Perdomo is going to get Houston. Now that I think about it, but that's going to be an interesting outing for him. How does that play? They're here this week. I keep forgetting that these games are here.
You're my boss. I'm not going to correct you.
We got to edit that out. Yeah. No, anyway, he'll pitch here one more time, and then Perdomo will get Houston.
I think that he'll get Coors again, too.
And then he'll probably get Coors after that. So
you know what? I'll tell you this. Let's end on this. I am going to figure that out, Jay, because tonight is the first of 10 games, Padres, Rockies in April. So I am going to figure out how many times are they going to see each other's starters. Right. You could see a reliever 6 or 7 times in the course of 2 weeks. Now, obviously, both teams have the same advantages and disadvantages, but 6 of those games are at Coors Field. Man.
That's never an advantage for anybody, probably not even the Rockies.
Though they have figured out the bullpen, and it seems like a young staff.
Well, they figured out the bullpen by throwing a lot of money at it, which is a good thing. And tonight, let's not forget, is Brian Mitchell's debut, correct?
Yes.
So, again, you're not going to read too much into one start, but that's the reason. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm going to have that game on my big screen at least until 8:30, but I will be keeping an eye on it, and I am interested to see how Brian Mitchell does in his first outing tonight.
All right, I lied. I try not to do this to players when I say last thing. I really do. It's so rude. Like when you ask them for 2 minutes and you end up talking for 10.
Right.
That's just rude. But something's been bugging me since the start. You're a huge sports fan, one of the biggest I know. You said organization, and I was thinking maybe you got that from you're a huge soccer guy. You were also a huge hockey guy.
That's
a hockey thing.
Very much a hockey thing.
Organization. I'm going to drop that.
And hockey's big this week, too. Let's not forget the Kings and Ducks both fighting for a playoff spot, and I will be also watching.
Do you know why I couldn't forget it? Because I didn't know it. Thanks for joining the Hot Lava Podcast presented by the Union-Tribune. We will see you later this week. How about, Jay, let's get together again before the series against the defending world champions.